Attack on Titan fans love to pat themselves on the back for championing the greatest female cast in modern anime. They weep over tragic romances and worship fiery sacrifices, intentionally blinding themselves to the sickening narrative crime Hajime Isayama committed. The creator took the most compelling woman in the entire franchise, violently stripped her of agency, and shoved her into a dark room to act as a glorified, silent royal incubator. Stop lying to yourselves. Historia Reiss surviving Season 4 is not a triumph. It is character assassination in its purest, most insulting form. Isayama built a goddess of defiance in Season 3 and cowardly slaughtered her narrative soul off-screen. This is the absolute fraud of the finale nobody has the spine to discuss. We watched a girl who rejected the world, who violently shattered her father's syringe to scream she was the worst girl in the world, get reduced to a cheap plot device. She became a biological shield. My take? Isayama panicked. He did not know what to do with a female character who possessed more thematic weight than his protagonist, so he benched her. He traded the Queen of Paradis for a silent, pregnant extra staring blankly at a setting sun. The fandom swallowed this pill because they were distracted by the rumbling, but I am here to force you to choke on it. Let's look at the dark psychology of this betrayal. To understand the sheer magnitude of this disrespect, you must look at the peak fiction served during the Uprising arc. Historia's tragic existence was defined by horrible people using her for their agendas. Her mother wished she was never born. The church used her as a political pawn. Rod Reiss, her own blood, saw nothing but a disposable vessel for the founding Titan. Even Ymir treated Historia like a fragile doll needing saving. But then came that crystal cave scene. That underground cavern was the crucible where the subservient crystal lens died, and the real Historia Reiss was forged in fire. When she smashed that syringe, she was not just rejecting the Titan transformation, she violently rejected the endless cycle of being a tool for powerful men. She ruthlessly chose herself. She chose humanity's destruction over living one more second as a slave to someone else's delusional design. That specific moment, that was unmatched main character energy. She rivaled Eren Yeager. She became the thematic core of the third season, proving that true freedom is the absolute refusal to inherit the suffocating sins of the father. And how exactly does Isayama reward this transcendent character arc? He literally forces her to inherit those exact sins. Look at the visual evidence. It is absolutely damning. Compare the eyes. Season 3 Historia had eyes burning with fierce, beautiful defiance. She stood on the towering walls, a triumphant queen bathed in the sun, holding her destiny by the throat. Fast forward to the grim reality of Season 4. Look closely at her sitting on that wooden porch. Look at her dead, hollow, vacant eyes. That is not the confident gaze of a fierce ruler making a calculated sacrifice for her nation. That is the tragic, thousand-yard stare of a broken woman shoved right back into the exact same miserable cage she broke her fingers to escape from. This is the masterstroke of Isayama's failure. He lazily wrote her into a corner where her only value was her uterus. The story punished her rebellion by inflicting ultimate degradation, making her complicit in objectification. She is completely sidelined for the epic climax, relegated to brief cutaways while angry men decide the fiery fate of the world she was supposed to rule. Here is the kicker. The profound philosophical hypocrisy of Attack on Titan's final act is entirely exposed through Historia's appalling treatment. The narrative engine driving Eren Yeager forward is his unyielding pursuit of freedom. He is completely willing to brutally crush billions of innocent skulls just to ensure his closest friends do not live like trapped cattle. Yet, the single person who truly understood the agonizing burden of his dark visions, the only person whose internal darkness perfectly mirrored his own, is the one tragic character ironically left wearing the tightest chains. Eren destroys the outside world for freedom, but Historia's personal freedom is quietly sacrificed on the altar of political convenience. The suffocating tragedy of the cursed Reiss bloodline never ended. It merely mutated into something far more insidious. Instead of the magical chains of the founding Titan's vow renouncing war, she is shackled by biological chains and the cold, brutal demands of fascist statecraft. She merely trades the rocky cage of the underground chapel for the depressing, gilded cage of an isolated farm. What makes this philosophically nauseating is the narrative framing. The story desperately wants the audience to blindly accept this horrific regression as a mature burden of true leadership. But the established philosophy of Attack on Titan aggressively taught us to violently rage against the dying of the light, to always fight, to refuse to be submissive cattle. By rendering Queen Historia utterly passive, the overarching narrative betrays its own core thesis. It practically screams at the audience, absolute freedom is worth destroying the planet for, unless you happen to be a young woman with royal blood, in which case, sit down, get pregnant, and let the violent boys handle the screaming apocalypse. She represents the ultimate catastrophic failure of Eren's grand vision. The philosophical weight of her painful isolation is completely ignored by a rushed script. Now, I know exactly what the blind ending defenders are going to type furiously in the comments down below. But Anime Titan, she totally chose this. She independently suggested getting pregnant to cleverly save herself in Paradis Island. It was a brilliant tactical delay against Zeke's evil euthanasia plan. Absolute nonsense. Stop lying to yourself to protect bad writing. That is not genuine agency. That is a terrifying hostage situation poorly disguised as a free choice. A desperate choice made at gunpoint is definitively not a valid choice. And let's finally talk about the absolute disrespect regarding her chosen partner, the farmer, a completely nameless, faceless background NPC whose singular defining trait is that he cruelly threw rocks at her head when they were children. Are you seriously going to tell me this is a fitting romantic conclusion for the legendary Queen of the Walls? Delusional people argue this shows political maturity, proving she is nobly putting her struggling country above personal pride. But that fundamentally misreads her core character. Historia's beautiful Season 3 arc was specifically about violently rejecting the pathetic good girl persona, permanently rejecting the toxic self-sacrificial martyr complex that Ymir despised. Having her willingly regress into a depressed sacrificial pawn for the military's timeline undoes 24 episodes of rigorous character development. You can logically justify the logistics of the pregnancy all you want with boring in-universe military tactics, but from a critical meta-narrative perspective, it is a cheap, lazy writing shortcut. It is simply an exhausted author removing a wildly powerful piece from the board because he honestly doesn't know how to intelligently play her anymore. Historia Reiss physically survives the chaotic finale. She proudly stands on the highest sunlit balcony in Paradis, tightly holding her child, presiding over a highly militaristic, violently fascist island desperately bracing for eternal war. She is technically breathing, but the fierce girl who boldly claimed she was humanity's ultimate enemy, the selfish girl who finally wanted to live purely for herself, has been completely dead for years. Isayama didn't physically kill her body, but he brutally executed her fighting spirit. We tragically lost the greatest dynamic queen in anime history to a boring rocking chair and a faceless rock-throwing farmer. So, I'm putting the tough question directly to you. Was Historia's forced pregnancy actually a brilliant tactical move, or simply the most pathetic, cowardly character assassination of the entire decade? Take your wild delusions, drop them in the comments right now, and let's critically see if you can actually defend the completely indefensible decisions. Do it now.